Hello everyone, today I will continue the story about the single mother, Diệu Hân. Ever since she discovered the necklace and the old photograph, a vague uneasiness had been lingering inside Hân. Outwardly, she tried to remain carefree, still smiling and joking as usual, but deep down, she silently began to observe Ton and On more closely. Each time On touched the necklace, Ton would pause, his eyes briefly clouded with thought. And On, whenever Ton accidentally called her Hoa, her face would shift in a way that wasn't irritation, but rather a subtle stirring she couldn't put into words. Han realized the distance between them no longer felt like that of strangers who had just met. It was as if some invisible thread had bound them together long ago. One evening, the three of them sat around the fire. Han told a funny story, Ton stayed silent, and On only gave a faint smile. Suddenly, On looked at Ton and softly asked, "If one day I remember everything, would you dare to tell me the truth?" The question dropped the atmosphere into silence. Ton looked into Anna's eyes, then glanced at Han, who was watching with curiosity and worry. His throat tightened. He didn't know how to respond. Han frowned slightly. In that moment she knew for certain. There was a secret between Ton and On that both were hiding. And sooner or later, that secret would force the three of them to face a difficult choice. Outside, the forest wind slipped through the cracks of the door, making the fire flicker, as though foreshadowing a stormy crossroads ahead. From the moment she noticed Ton avoiding her gaze, Han resolved to uncover the truth behind her suspicions. She didn't want to lose their friendship, but neither could she pretend nothing was happening. One morning, while Ton and On were busy tidying the house, Han excused herself to the market. But instead of going straight there, she wandered past the old houses in the village, asking questions to the elderly. First, no one remembered clearly. But then, an old woman noticed the necklace On often wore, which Han had deliberately brought along to ask about, and slowly nodded. "Ah, this belonged to the girl named Hoa long ago. She and a young man named Ton once lived here. They loved each other deeply. But then something happened. The girl disappeared, and everyone thought she would never return." Hearing that, Han's heart trembled. The answer confirmed what her intuition had whispered all along. On was Hoa, the girl from Tana's past. On her way back, Han's mind was in turmoil. She didn't blame Ton or On, yet the feeling of being kept in the dark weighed heavily on her. She feared that if this truth came to light, nothing would ever be the same again. When she returned home, she found Ton and On sitting under the mango tree, silently looking at each other. The sight only deepened the unease swelling inside her. She stood there for a long while, then clenched her fists and asked herself, "Should I reveal the truth I've just discovered? Or stay silent and let them find their way back to each other?" In that moment, Han felt as though she was standing at a crossroads, between truth, which could shatter their friendship, and silence, which could leave her in silent pain forever. The wind blew, scattering a few dry leaves, and within her heart echoed an unanswered question. If I speak out, will our friendship of three survive? That night, after On had gone to bed early, Han deliberately pulled Ton out to the porch. The moon hung faintly above the mango tree, its pale light casting a hush over the silence. Han no longer wore her usual carefree expression. Her voice was slow but firm. "Ton, how much longer do you plan to hide this from me? I already know that On is the Hoa from your past." Ton froze, his eyes darkening. He hadn't expected Han to investigate on her own. He was about to speak, but Han raised her hand to stop him. "I don't blame you. I just need to know, how do you intend to face On? And did you ever think about me, about our friendship, while you stayed silent all this time?" Her words cut like a knife, equal parts reproach and pain. Ton lowered his head, torn apart inside. He sighed, his voice hoarse. "Hun, I never wanted to hurt On. She's forgotten the past, and I'm afraid if I reveal it, it will only wound her all over again. As for you, I was afraid too. Afraid our friendship wouldn't survive intact. Han's eyes welled up. She bit her lip, forcing herself to hold back as she whispered, "But Tan, have you thought that silence is also a form of hurting? By keeping secrets, you've trapped both me and On in a haze of uncertainty. One day, when the truth surfaces on its own, it will be far more painful." They both fell silent, with only the sound of the forest wind carrying the damp scent of dry leaves. In that moment, Tan knew he could no longer run away. He stood, his gaze fixed on the room where On was sleeping, his eyes filled with determination but shadowed with fear. Han remained seated, her heart both lighter for having spoken and heavy with the premonition. From this moment, nothing would ever be the same. What neither of them knew was that On had not been asleep. She had been lying awake, restless, and had accidentally overheard their conversation on the porch. At first, she paid little attention, but as the words sank in, her heartbeat grew louder and louder. "I already know that On is the Hoa from your past." Han's words echoed in her mind like a thunderclap striking through the fog of memory. On sat up trembling, her hand instinctively clutching the silver necklace. The scattered fragments from her dreams, the look in Tana's eyes, the strange familiarity of this house, all at once began to align into a complete picture. She whispered, her voice choked, "So, I am Hoa." The next morning, while Han and Tan were still busy preparing breakfast, On stepped out onto the porch. She appeared calm, but her eyes shimmered with tears. Looking straight at Tan, her voice rang steady. "There's no need to hide it anymore. I know now. I am Hoa, aren't I?" Silence fell. Tan froze, the bowl of rice in his hand nearly slipping to the ground. Han too was stunned. She hadn't expected On to have heard everything. On turned to Han, her eyes brimming with both pain and gratitude. "Thank you, Han, for speaking the truth. But now I need to know it all. Tan, tell me everything about us, about what we once were." At that moment, all three understood. The spiral of memory had no way back. The truth was out, and now they had to face it, whether it would bring healing or shatter them apart. Outside, the morning sun spread golden light across the old mango tree. Whether this was the beginning of something new, or the birth of an unhealable fracture, all depended on the choices they made in this fragile instant. Tan set the bowl of rice down, his hand trembling. He drew in a deep breath, as if gathering every shred of courage, then lifted his gaze to On, or rather to Hoa, the girl he had once loved. "All right. I'll tell you everything. About us and about what truly happened." On sat quietly, her eyes never leaving him. Han swallowed hard, her heart pounding, as if she too were about to hear a long-buried secret. Tana's voice sank low, blending with the whisper of the wind outside the porch. "Years ago you were Hoa, the girl who always laughed, always ran around under this old mango tree. I loved you from the very first moment I saw you. We shared the sweetest days together. I still remember how you loved summer afternoons, counting the petals as they fell. You once told me, 'If there's another life, I want to meet you again under this mango tree.'" On listened, her eyes blurring, her heart racing with every word. Tan paused, his voice tightening. "But then the accident happened. That night a sudden fire took you away. I ran in to find you, but when the flames were put out, everyone said you had vanished. I searched everywhere, but there was no trace. For years I lived in torment, believing you had left me forever." A single tear slid down on his cheek. She clutched the necklace tightly, as if each of his words were carved into her soul. Looking at her, Tana's voice trembled yet burned with devotion. "I never forgot you, Hoa. Even if you lost your memory, even if you live under another name to me, you've always been the only woman I ever loved." Silence settled, broken only by the sound of the wind and their heavy breaths. Han sat beside them, her chest tightening at the truth laid bare. She realized in that moment that everything had changed: love, friendship, and the future they once imagined. On burst into tears, not knowing whether it was from joy, sorrow, or fear of a truth too immense to bear. Looking up at Ton, her voice cracked. If all of this is real, then what are we supposed to do now? The question fell like a challenge, forcing all three to confront the crossroads of fate. Since the truth had come to light, the air between them grew heavier. Ton and On would often sit quietly beneath the mango tree, their hands brushing against the necklace, as though trying to weave their bond back together. Though Anna's memory hadn't fully returned, the feelings within her heart grew stronger each day. Meanwhile, Han, the once carefree, spirited one, found herself on the outside. Her laughter faded, replaced by long sleepless nights. A single question echoed endlessly within her. Should I step aside so they can reclaim the happiness they lost? Or should I hold on to Ton, because love doesn't belong only to the past? At times she caught Ton glancing between her and On, his hesitation betraying him. Though no words were spoken, Han knew. His heart still belonged to the girl from yesterday. The knowledge cut deep, yet made her care for him even more. One evening, as Han sat alone on the porch, On came to her. Her eyes were red, her voice quivering. Han, if I truly am Hoa, if Ton and I really loved each other once, would you hate me? Han fell silent. In that instant she realized she also cared for On. Not just as a friend but as family. She forced a faint smile, blinking back tears. Hate you? No. I'm only afraid of losing you, of losing the peace we once shared. As for love, perhaps it's not something we can keep by clinging to it. On broke down and threw her arms around Han. From a distance, Ton saw the scene, his heart tangled with conflicting emotions. He knew that sooner or later Han would have to make a choice, and that choice would determine the future of all three. That night, Ton wandered alone beneath the old mango tree. Moonlight spilled faintly across the ground, stirring countless memories. His hand touched the rough bark, where once he had carved his name alongside Hoa's, and a sharp ache gripped his chest. Hoa has returned, she is On. That old love never truly died. But beside me all these years has been Han, the one who quietly shared my burdens, who cared, who never left my side. So, how am I supposed to choose? Two images echoed in his mind, colliding with each other. On Hoa's sweet memories, a promise made beneath this very tree. A first love burning bright yet scarred by loss. Han, patience, sacrifice, steadfast friendship. A bond that had slowly blossomed into love. Present, real, closer than anything else. He asked himself, is love the past we once had, or the person standing beside me now? If I choose Hoa, do I betray Han? If I choose Han, do I betray the past? His steps grew heavy, the forest wind howling like a voice urging him to decide. But his heart was split in two, unable to lean toward either side. He looked up at the sky and sighed. Hoa, Hun, what should I do? Is there truly a way for all three of us to come out unbroken? Inside the small house, the dim lamp still burned. Both On and Han lay restless, lost in their own thoughts, not knowing that Ton too was being torn apart. The ending was still unwritten. Would Ton choose the love of the past, unfinished yet burning, or the love born of constancy and endurance? The next morning, as mist still veiled the hills, On quietly packed her belongings. She spoke to no one, only left behind a letter on the old wooden table. Her handwriting trembled, but her words were resolute. Han, thank you, for giving me a home, for your friendship, for being my anchor when I had lost everything. Without you there would be no On today. But because of that, I cannot stay, I cannot stand between you and Ton. Perhaps Hoa's memories are meant to be closed, so On can begin anew. Let our friendship remain pure, instead of breaking beneath this impossible choice. You deserve a love that is whole, and Ton, he must learn to cherish that. By the time Han discovered it, Anna's small backpack was already gone. Ton rushed out to the gate, but only found footprints pressed into the dew-soaked earth. Han held the letter, tears streaming. Her heart ached, yet she felt a quiet warmth, for in the end Hân had chosen sacrifice to protect both friendship and love. Beside her, Tan stood with hesitant eyes, torn between loss and awakening. He knew Anna's departure was a reminder. The past was beautiful, but it was the present that needed to be treasured. Hân turned to him without blame or reproach and whispered, "Perhaps we should live for today and cherish it for Anna's sake. Don't you think?" In that moment, beneath the old mango tree, a circle closed, and at the same time a new path opened. A path not only for love, but also for friendship, sacrifice, and gratitude. The story ends with an open question. Would Tan and Hân truly walk forward together? Or would Anna's departure remain a shadow etched forever in both their hearts? Many years later, one late autumn afternoon, the old mango tree still stood before the porch. Its roots dug deep into the soil, branches heavy with leaves, a silent witness to countless memories. Tan and Hân were now husband and wife, building a modest little home together. Their life was simple, not abundant, but filled with peace. That afternoon, a woman returned from afar. The once frail figure had changed. An or Hoa stepped down from a bus, an old backpack slung over her shoulder, her eyes shining with resolve. She had traveled across many lands, learned how to live on her own, how to stand firm without leaning on anyone else. Her presence made both Tan and Hân pause in astonishment. She was still An, yet no longer the fragile girl of the past. An smiled as she walked toward them. "It's been a long time. I just came back to visit. The mango tree is still here, and so are the two of you." Her voice was calm, free of regret. Hân's eyes brimmed with tears as she rushed to embrace her, while Tan only gave a small nod, his gaze overflowing with quiet emotion. They sat together beneath the tree, sharing stories of life and people. No more knots to untangle, no more wounds to reopen. Only gratitude and the maturity that comes after loss. Before leaving, An stood, her eyes fixed on the horizon dyed by sunset. "Back then I was Hoa, but now I am An, someone new. Thank you both for giving me a beginning that helped me find myself." The wind stirred, a few mango leaves drifted down like a gentle farewell. And so the three of them, each on their own path, would forever remain in one another's memories. An ending not closed but opening onto new journeys. Friendship, love, and the growth born of pain. Just before she departed, An rose and unclasped the silver necklace she had carried all these years. It was the keepsake Tan once gave Hoa, the token that had stayed with her through her darkest days, the last thread tying her to the past. An held it tightly for a moment, then stepped forward and placed it into Hân's palm. "Hân, keep this, not as a memory of the past, but as a reminder that because of you I was able to go on living. This necklace once belonged to love, but today, I want it to become a symbol of friendship, of gratitude." Hân froze, tears falling uncontrollably. She clenched the necklace, lifting her gaze to An, unable to form words. Tan stood silent too. In his eyes flickered both sorrow and release. He knew from this moment, the love of the past had truly been laid to rest. An smiled softly, then turned toward the long road. Her figure slowly disappeared beyond the bamboo grove, leaving Tan and Hân with a tender, aching silence. The silver necklace glimmered in Hân's hand under the twilight glow, like a quiet promise that love may fade, but sacrifice and true friendship would endure forever.
Hello mọi người, rất vui được gặp lại mọi người trong video của mình. Chúc mọi người một ngày mới vui vẻ và hạnh phúc nha. Hy vọng rằng những video kể về những câu chuyện của những người mẹ đơn thân sinh sống ở Việt Nam sẽ mang đến niềm vui cho mọi người. Và đặc biệt là những câu chuyện này sẽ giúp mọi người hiểu hơn về hoàn cảnh cuộc sống của những người mẹ đơn thân ở Việt Nam. Những video ngắn hy vọng sẽ mang đến niềm vui cho mọi người mỗi ngày. Nếu mọi người yêu thích những video của mình, nhớ cho mình một like, share Và đặc biệt là nhớ bật chuông thông báo để nhận thông báo khi mình đăng video mới nhất nha. Và nhớ để lại cho mình một nhận xét ở dưới phần bình luận để giúp kênh của mình càng ngày càng hoàn thiện hơn và ra những video hay, hấp dẫn hơn để cho mọi người xem. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video của mình. Rất mong được sự ủng hộ của mọi người. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại mọi người nha.